Well, good morning. We're going to open with prayer this morning. I'm going to ask Representative Barton if he will lead us in prayer.
All right. Bow your head. Heavenly Father, thank you for letting us be here today. Please be with us as we help decide on matters for the state of Georgia. We appreciate all that you do for us and be with us today. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right, we've got two bills before us this morning. The first one is House Bill 758 by Chairman Powell. We're going to ask him to come up and present his bill. Chairman Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and ladies and gentlemen of the committee. You know, I defy you to read this bill to figure out what it really does, but I'm going to tell you what it does. If you look in the descriptions on line 12, where you talk about technology, procedures, training, policy, and such, and then you get down below it, that language, what that says is that for these motor carriers that are hiring either independents or other folks to drive for them, that the requirement that the motor carriers use for training and things such as that shall not be used as a description that they're an employee of the company. And that's quite frankly what it does. What you've got is a lot of the drivers out there, they think they're always looking for ways of saying they're employees for the sake of benefits and such like that. But if they're an independent contractor or just a private citizen that's driving for these motor carriers, this won't be the requirement that the companies have, that they do the safety training and stuff like that. That doesn't mean that they're an employee.
Do we have any questions? Number 17.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if, I'm trying to understand your definition of employee or independent contractor. If I tell you that I need this truck, this stuff carried by 10 o'clock and picked up by such and such and delivered by such and such, that means that either I'm an employee or an independent contractor.
You're an independent
because if
contractor.
I'm independent, if I was independent, Mr. Chairman, if I'm independent, you don't tell me what time to deliver this or do this. It's independent. So I think the definition to me is vague, and I'm just concerned. I'm just concerned about the definition.
I didn't write it. I'm not the attorney. This was written by the Motor Truckers, the American Motor Truckers Association. I don't think it has anything to do with the time for delivery. This depends if a motor carrier or a company is requiring drivers who they're contracting with to understand what our safety, we're having safety programs. Well, we want you to come to that safety program and we want you to understand the policies. Well, if they're doing that, that doesn't make them an employee. It's not like UPS where they hire folks, put a brown uniform on them, go through
And
all
tell
the
them to go to do the same things that this contract is doing.
Basically, the bottom line is that if you're contracting out or you're working for a company as an independent contractor or whatever, that if that company says that you have to keep up with the new safety techniques or whatever that company requires, that's not grounds to say that you're an employee. You got to have other things. In labor law, there's a lot of other things that you have to do to be an employee.
All right, number 11.
Oh, I'm sorry. I get my time to number 10.
Okay, you wait. Number 10.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the bottom line is who owns the equipment that they're driving. And to what Representative's speaking about, the owner of the vehicle, the motor, they are their own employee. And in my business, we hire owner operators, and most of them don't want to be employees, but they do want to. We have training and requirements that they have to meet, and if they want to get paid, they have to do that training and stay up to date on all their training. So I think it's a good measure.
Thank you.
Number 2. Wait. Number 8, Representative Trammell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just trying to understand, is this an issue, the impetus for the bill? Are there people who are trying to claim that they're an employee under this, or what's the?
That's my suspicion. that you probably got a lot of folks that if they're an independent contractor, well, they're saying, we want you to go to these safety classes, or we want you to take or learn the new techniques that we require as a motor carrier or our company. Then this is just another rationale. They say, oh, well, does that make me an employee? Which would actually bring them into other benefits and things like that. So it moves them from being an independent contractor to an employee. This is just one of the areas that they're using for that. And
Mr.
this
Chair,
says that they can't use that.
if I might follow up on it. I mean, I'm just trying to think under the circumstances why, if that's the only thing, why we would need the legislation in the first place. I mean, it seems like under the present rules with respect to 1099 employees, 1099 contractors versus W-2 employees, that would be sufficient to address the issue.
Couldn't tell you why it's needed, but I suspect that you've got more lawyers than you got fleas on a dog. And that all they gotta do is try to find any and all circumstances to try to say, well, you're an employee, so you need to have this benefit and that benefit. But that's not what the purpose of independent contractors is about.
Number 12.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as I understand it, there is, boy, that is loud, isn't it? Let me pull back just a shade. As I understand it, this has nothing to do with, I mean, there are certain specific descriptions in U.S. code regarding 1099 versus W-2 workers and U.S. Department of Labor code. This is our attempt to spell out that just because I require you to come in and take this training off-site or in the office for insurance purposes or other purposes does not mean that you are an employee of mine. That
You got it. You
okay.
got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing no further, number 11.
Mr. Chairman, proper time, I'd like to make a motion to do pass.
All right, we do have one person signed up, Ed Kroll, if you want to speak or waive or.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Edward Kroll with the Georgia Motor Trucking Association. I want to thank Representative Powell.
Can you come to the mic? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Edward Kroll with the Georgia Motor Trucking Association. I want to thank Representative Powell for bringing this bill and for your good questions. This is primarily a highway safety bill. What we're trying to accomplish here is clear up an area that has questions, that has become an issue in other states, and clarify that having someone trained for the latest safety techniques and having someone trained to use the new safety equipment that we are installing on our trucks does not change their relationship with the contracting company. It has been an issue in other states, and we don't want it to be an issue in Georgia because we don't want anything to be an impediment to making our trucks safer on the road. So thank you, and I ask you to support the bill.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, this would be the proper time for a motion. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. You have your bill. All right, we have one other bill before us this morning, House Bill 823, Representative Gaines. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. Today I bring House Bill 823. This bill comes on behalf of First Lady Marty Kemp as we all work to bring human trafficking in our state to an end. This legislation provides one more tool as we work together to bring this evil industry into the light and provide a safe haven for victims in this state. Legislation brings Georgia into greater compliance with the recent federal rule completed this summer. The federal rule revised the list of offenses permanently disqualifying individuals from operating a commercial motor vehicle for which a commercial driver's license or commercial learner's permit is required. The federal rule reflects a change in Congress in the No Human Trafficking in Our Roads Act that provides an individual that prohibits an individual from operating a commercial motor vehicle for life if that individual uses the commercial motor vehicle committing a felony involving a severe form of human trafficking, adding to the list of other disqualifying offenses identified in the statute. This legislation ensures that this also applies to Georgia CDL licenses and will authorize the Department of Driver Services to permanently revoke an individual's CDL license upon conviction if they use the commercial motor vehicle to commit the act. I do have a quick amendment on lines 14 through 17, and I'll read it to you. I believe Jenna has it as well. This is the amendment. Any individual who knowingly uses a commercial motor vehicle while committing the offense of trafficking a person for labor or sexual servitude in violation of this code section shall also be punished by the revocation of the defendant's commercial driver's license and disqualification from driving a commercial motor vehicle for life in accordance with code section 40-5-151. Any questions?
Do we have questions? Number 12.
I can only hear quite so fast. Could you possibly read that one more
The
time?
amendment?
Yes.
Yeah,
Would
sorry.
you do that?
Just the amendment?
Yes.
Okay, sure. So what it's I'll briefly explain it. And so what that changes is in the original language, this clarifies to match the federal rule that this applies to individuals who use the commercial motor vehicle in the act of in the offenses. So previously, and under the original language, it wasn't clear that they had to use the commercial motor vehicle. That just matches the federal rule.
So under the original language, if they were caught, say, in a personal
That's right.
vehicle, they would lose their commercial license.
They could.
Under this, it matches federal
That's right.
language. It only applies if they're using a commercial vehicle in the commission of the crime.
That's right.
I'll waive the reading then.
I thought I'd get through it quickly, so.
Number 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And could you read just so, because I just want to make sure.
The amendment?
Yes.
Sure. Any individual who knowingly uses a commercial motor vehicle while committing the offense of trafficking a person for labor or sexual servitude in violation of this code section shall also be punished by the revocation of the defendant's commercial driver's license and disqualification from driving a commercial motor vehicle for life in accordance with code section 40-5-151.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I might follow up. So the change, one of the changes that I think I hear is the language that was in was permissive in the bill that was that's in front of us, 823. So the court could have the discretion to do that. It says may also be punished, but the amendment changes it to shall. Is that right?
That's right.
What's the reasoning for taking that discretion away from the judge?
Jenna, I don't know if you can help answer
Well, I
that.
think we're trying to clarify that the big policy change would be that if you're just a commercial, a CDL holder, and you're in your personal car and you commit this crime, under the current version of the bill, your CDL could be revoked. But the intent was to only if you were using the commercial motor vehicle during the commission of the actual crime. So to pull that away, it's just sort of we could put it as may, but I think it's stronger to say shall. That it's we're trying to comply with the federal law, that you would want the judge to go ahead and do that, and DDS might be able to comment whether funding is related. Sometimes when CDL stuff, that's where it gets a little gray.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if we have the discretion to do it, I would rather let the judge decide it. But if there's some issue that somebody else can speak to as to why we need the shall versus may, certainly.
All right. Number 17, Representative McLean. I'm sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, committee members. My name is Shavonda Leslie. I serve as the Director of Governmental Affairs and Communications for the Georgia Department of Driver Services. So it was an error when we submitted the initial language. It's not permissive. The federal law requires, as of 2023, that every state have a law in place to combat this issue, and federal dollars is attached to it.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Leslie? Okay. Number 17, Representative McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, but I think I may waive because I think Jenna may have answered the part that I wanted was because if it was commercial driving, but it didn't do anything with the regular driving, the regular license.
Number 16.
Mr. Chairman, I waive also. I think she cleared that up.
Thank you. Number 9. Chairman
Thank
Powell.
you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move the question that we forward this on with a do pass recommendation, because I don't think that anybody who gets convicted of sex trafficking, this is the least of their worries, whether they're going to have a CDL.
I couldn't agree more, Mr. Chairman, but we do have a couple people signed up to speak at this time. Seeing no further questions, Ms. Causey? With the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Attorneys. If you state your name and who you're with.
Certainly. Maisie Lynn Causey. I represent the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. And before the amendment, we had more comment to make, but I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the collaboration we've appreciated from Representative Gaines and the Governor's Office with some of the concerns that we raised with them. And we really are appreciative of this fix and thinks that it addresses all the problems that we brought to them. So we just wanted to appreciate them publicly about that.
Thank you. Mr. Robert Smith, Prosecuting Attorney's Counsel.
I think I'll waive off the vote. Thank you.
All right. Now would be the proper time for a motion. Do we have a second? All right. Do I? Yes, we need to vote on the amendment that was offered. First, we have a motion on the amendment. Do we have a second? All right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor? All opposed? All right, now voting on the bill as amended. Do we have a motion? All right. Yes.
As amended or as a committee substitute?
As a committee substitute. Yes, as a committee substitute. I stand corrected. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor? All opposed? You have your bill. Thanks, sir. We having no other business. The meeting will be adjourned. Thank you.